many people's attention over the last, I guess, over the last month or so since the last meeting. But there were some items that were said that probably weren't appropriate for the area, for the place anyhow. And we kind of wanted to get together and get this on the table. If you want to talk your side, and we just take anything or anybody. We will. By the way, Larry, before we get started, if we do have people from outside that do want to say anything, you're more than welcome to say something. We will keep this orderly. Okay.
Well, all I can say is it was just, it wasn't intended as a racial slur. And it was just a slip of tongue. Something was said that, well, all of you know what was said, that the reference was to a slingshot, that they call them slingshots now, but they weren't always called that. Some of my closest friends in bangs, Mr. John Sterling, Cornelius Hood, and Mr. Dunlap called me, and I talked to him on the phone, and I started to go see him and visit with him, but I decided, and I talked to Officer Kelly about this, and I decided where it needed to be brought up and where I needed to apologize to him and everybody present is where it took place, and that was here in City Council chambers. Now I went straight to Kelly the minute that was said, and I apologized and apologized and apologized. I mean, I don't feel that way towards any race. As far as I'm concerned, mankind is one, and we've all got common ancestors. Going back to Adam and again to Noah. Mr. Sterling, outside of my grandchildren, is the only person in Bangs that comes over and hugs my neck every time I see him. And the feeling's mutual. And Mr. Dunlap, I apologize for what came out of my mouth. It was very, very inappropriate. I do not feel that way towards...
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williford, excuse me. The problem is not with what you said. The problem is that nobody saw fit to tell you it was wrong. I was taught in the military to fight for what's right.
Yes, sir.
And I believe this is one fight that I'm fighting that is right. You have no right to use that kind of language in this forum. This is a hallowed halls. You say your pledge of allegiance, that kind of language should not be used here. Now, that's what I was taught in the military. Where you were born, how you were raised, has nothing to do with what we're talking here. And I'm not angry at you, Mr. Williford. Every man that sits at this table and woman that did not see fit to tell you what you did was wrong, we're all coupled. That's just like if I walk in your store and use that kind of language. If I walk in your store and I steal and I'm with my wife, we both go to jail. All right? Everybody's culpable here. Nobody saw fit to stand up and tell you what you're doing is not the feelings of Bangs and this city and the council members. Unless I'm wrong, we are not allowed to do that.
Right now he's wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, then this is not the time to tell it. The time to tell him was when he said it. Guys, we all have to live here together. Gentlemen, all I'm asking for is respect due any man.
I'm going to
Respect due any man.
Could I tell a story?
Can you tell the story?
Yeah.
If you choose.
My best friend in Vietnam was a black guy.
And
He laid right beside me and took a trap and drove his brains out.
Okay. I understand.
And you don't tell me about military.
Well, I've been in the military, and I was in a situation where I lost friends. But I never once walked into your business and used that kind of language. Has nothing to do with what we did in the military. I fought for mine. I served honorably, and I did not come into your store and use the kind of language that was used in this council. There's other words you could have used. One of them would have been slingshot. If you're so comfortable with that word, I think it's time for us to restructure our council. That is not fair to me, my mother, my father, my daughter, my son. And excuse me for being angry, but you don't allow me to do it in your businesses. How can you have business here and use that kind of language? Gentlemen, I'm only asking for one thing: the respect that's due a dog. The respect that's due a dog. We work, we live in your community. I've cut your lawns. I've worked in your places of business. I've caused you no problem. I not only lost my credibility in this community, I lost a job, a good friend, behind what one man did. And the community turns against me because what I feel was wrong. It should not have been done. We should not do this, gentlemen. It should not be done in these hallowed halls. I was not allowed to do it when I was in the military. If you want to tell me about the military, let's run this like that. Let's show a little respect for one another. That's what I was taught, to respect my fellow man. And to use that kind of language is not respecting me, or my wife, or the children that go to your schools and eat in your restaurants and shop in your stores. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
One more time, Mr. Dunlap, I would like to apologize again. It was just simply a slip of the
Mr. Williford, I accept your
I
apology.
do not feel
I
that
accept your
way
apology.
towards anybody.
I've heard that several times. It's not about how you feel about anybody. It's how you feel about this community and the people that live in this community.
I want everybody in here to know, though, that I know it was wrong. That's why I went to Kelly as soon as it was said and apologized to him. And it will not happen again.
Can I say something for the record? I don't appreciate Mr. Dunlap coming here and accusing us for using that word, for accusing, basically treating the council as a whole, that it was our fault. And him coming in here and addressing us, chewing us out, basically, on hearsay, on secondhand hearsay, because the man was not here in the last meeting. He doesn't know exactly what happened. And I don't appreciate being accused on secondhand hearsay. Now, did it happen? Yes, it did. It did happen. I was sitting right here, the meeting was called, we were all scattered. And it did happen. As soon as it happened, we all looked, we realized that Mr. Williford had made a mistake. You could tell by his body language that he made a severe mistake. What did Mr. Williford do? He got up and he went straight and he apologized for offending that person or using that racial slur. So it wasn't like, now if Mr. Williford had made that statement and not realized that he made a mistake, I'm sure one of us would have come up and said, Larry, you messed up, man. Make it right. But he knew exactly when he said that word that he made a mistake. And he made it right on his own. So I don't appreciate Mr. Dunlap coming here and chewing it out when he took care of it. He made it right that night. Enough said. That's all I got to say.
Larry, I struggled with it all day long. okay? I'll be honest with you. I tried to put words together of how I could address it properly, okay? And I prepared a little something small, but I want you to hear it, and it's from me, okay? I said, we as a council are asked to represent the city in a positive light, ultimately to do right. As a peer and a friend, I do not believe that you're racist at all. But I do believe you exercised some embarrassingly poor judgment that day. To me as a voter, all credibility was lost, okay? This reflects not only Mr. Williford, but it also reflects us as a city, and that's me addressing your portion of it.
Sure, I understand. No problem.
That's really all I have to say at this time. I don't agree with it, Larry. But, you know, call a spade, you know, it is what it is. We're at this point now, what's the next step, you know? There's absolutely nothing that us as a council can, you know, there's no punishment phase or nothing like that. It's not judicial, you know. Any motion that's made, there's no forcing that can be made for you, you know. I think this is something that was brought up. I think some people's thoughts of what should have happened that night, you know, some of them are realistic and some of them aren't, you know. But that's my piece on it. I hope I almost believe truly that you took it to heart, every bit of it. Any extra portions of the...
Yeah.
Then I guess to that point we can go on to bypass 10 and go to 11.
I think so. Unless
somebody else
can, and if someone wants to make any comment or action.
That was scheduled to be an open session, but we'll consider any action regarding items discussed in our executive session.
Hey, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Can I speak for a second?
Absolutely.
Without retaliation?
Yes, sir.
Well, here's what I kind of struggled with this, and I didn't want to really say anything at first, but I feel that, you know, you got to do what's right, okay? And I don't have anything against anybody here in the council. And I've been a police officer for a couple of years now, and when you put on this uniform, you hear a whole lot of stuff from a whole lot of people, saying a whole lot of things. Sometimes they mean them, sometimes they don't. And it's just, it comes with the job. But I will say this, because it wasn't hearsay, because I was here. What happened was, Mr. Williford did say it, we weren't leaving, we were here. And nobody chose to say it. There were some people who said that they didn't hear it. And I can't control what man or what woman hears something, or what man or what woman doesn't hear anything. What I do know is that I was here. And what I do know is that everybody was here at the table. And what I do know is that for whatever reason that it may be, nothing was said. My only issue with the whole thing is that in a month, no one from the bottom of the food chain all the way to the top came to me and said anything. No one said, this is how we feel. No one said, this is not how we feel. Mr. Williford said, I'm sorry, but he may mean it, but look at the predicament that he's in. I mean, it's the right thing to do. But as a city and as a whole, you work at a professional job. If that would have happened in your job, immediately Human Resources would have pulled you in and said, hey, this is not how we operate. That's my only gripe with anything. Other than, I have nothing against Mr. Williford. I've talked to him. I've talked to him at length about it. I grew up in the backwoods of Louisiana, okay? And I've heard some things that make his slur sound like you're walking down the halls of a Catholic church. But at at the end of the day, it still doesn't make it right. And what we have to do is, we have to do what's right. And I was explaining to the chief here earlier today that Banks has come a long way, okay? Before I got here, I researched Banks Police and the issues that we've had with the police department. And in a year and a half since I've been here, we haven't been in the paper for anything crazy or ridiculous. And neither really has the city, just had a few minor hiccups. And I think that as a city, you have to pride yourself and you have to just take responsibility for what happened, whether it's good or it's bad or it's right or it's wrong. And if I do something, then it's a reflection on the chief of police. Whether he's in bed sleeping or he's outside working with me, it's a reflection on him, whatever I do, if it's good or bad. And it's the same thing here. It was a poor choice of words. It was something that shouldn't be said, especially in a city hall. But if we can accept it for what it is, take it, learn from it, be truthful about it, then we can go from here. But if we don't, we're just going to keep having more problems, more problems, more problems. So that's all I have to say on it. Thank you.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor. Officer Kelly.
Yes, sir.
I do want to say something in kind of response to, nobody saying anything to you.
Yes, sir.
The city does not condone that in any form or fashion.
Yes, sir.
We actually have an employee of the city that used that term some time ago.
Yes, sir.
And he actually came up to you and apologized, and he was suspended without pay, or with pay. He had to use his vacation time.
Yes, sir.
For a solid week. And I do want you to know, we took action at that time on something that we could take action on.
Right.
But Mr. Williford and Mr. Shepherd, none of the council works for
You're absolutely
the city.
correct.
So there's nothing that anybody could do, but the city does not condone that.
The only
we did
thing-
take action before, but that was when we could.
Yes, sir. The only thing that you could have done was, using that example that you used, the last person, when that similar incident happened, you pulled me into the office and you said, this is not something that we do. And it really doesn't matter if, in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the city of Banks, but it doesn't matter if you guys receive a paycheck or not. It doesn't make it right or make it wrong. The issue at hand is just addressing it for what it is. And, if I go out here every day and on a whim I have to make a decision what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and if I'm wrong, you guys just can't say, well, that's just Kelly, it's not me. It's the city of Banks. It's not just Troy Brusendorf. It's not just Larry Williford. It's not just Leo Smith. It's the city of Banks, and you guys are the council. So just try to be mindful that if something happens, you guys had no control over what he was going to say. No one knew that he was going to say what he said. However, it puts a whole lot of people at ease, and it makes a whole lot of people feel a whole lot better if you say, hey, look, if it's in public or private, this is not how I feel. This is not how the city of Banks feels. This is one man. He's free to feel however he wants to feel, as all of us are. But it's just easier. It just puts a lot of people at ease if you just say, hey, this is not it. And the first time that happened, the second time, personally, I believe nobody knew what to do because it was a jaw dropper. It was like, huh, how'd that work out? And everybody was just like, well, we're leaving. And that's okay. The problem with it is when you don't say anything. Even if it's in writing, just slide it under somebody's door, put it in your mailbox. But you have to say something instead of saying nothing at all. Period.
I believe in this letter we stated to Troy, he called us and talked to us. I believe it stated that we heard him say it.
Yes, sir. You did hear him say it, but that's not how you feel. I just watched you back here when you were interacting with Mr. Dunlap, and I saw you go back in time to a point in your life where you Man, you were tearing up about a guy, and you know, it really didn't matter if he was black or if he was white. It was somebody that you cared about and you were close to, and somebody that you had some feelings for. And it's, all I'm asking is just for simplicity. It's just, hey, this is not how we feel. And that's it. I don't believe you stand behind that word. I mean, there's a lot of terminology that people use that they shouldn't use. I don't believe you stand behind it, but it's just one of those things where you just say, hey, this is not my cup of tea. You know, I've heard people in the community say, how can Truman Westfall be a part of the school system where African American children attend schools and they play football and they play basketball? And he said no. A simple, hey, we don't feel that way, clears everybody from everything. It clears everybody's doubt from everything. Everybody has to live together. And we don't have to like each other. The only thing we have to do is respect each other as human beings. That's it. You don't have to like anybody. Just respect them as human beings. And it's just a little decency and a little respect to say, hey, we don't feel that way. That's not our opinion. And we go from there.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add to it? I think we're pretty much to a point that we're at the end of the item.
Well, I'd like to say I don't feel that way, and I'm sorry I didn't come to you. I just tried to not make a...
I understand, sir.
And you, and I got called in the office, and Mr. Smith called me in the office.
Yes, sir.
And told me, asked me what I should do. What I thought we should do, I said we should have an executive session and sit down and talk to him.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Shepherd, that I publicly accept your apology, not for you just saying I'm sorry, but for you acknowledging that you didn't want that poof moment. And that's all that I'm saying. And I accept that, and I accept everything that comes along with it, and I believe you wholeheartedly.
I would bet that feeling's all the way across, Perry, in all honesty.
Okay.
I think I'll be the first to admit, I was one of the ones that said I wasn't sure I heard it.
Yes, sir.
But I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Now, what others heard or what they said they heard,
Right.
wonderful. I do know that right after the fact, I did try to chase you down, but you were gone. You can ask others, where's Kelly at? That was the first thing I said. My apologies for not coming after the fact. And that's not publicity. That's from one man to another.
I appreciate it.
You know, and I can tell you, Larry, as much as it bothered me today, you know, what is going to come of this session, you know. I researched all day long. I do not think in any way that I agree with what was said. I do think that it was painted as it painted the entire city. Just kind of like what I said in my statement, you know, the credibility was kind of lost for all of us. I researched what other cities have done in the past when this has happened. I doubt you want me to bring that up right now. You know, I mean, it's kind of like I said earlier. We can't tell you to do anything. I know what my feeling would be. I know the first thing I'd do. But that's me, and that's not, ultimately, I'm not you. That's all I've got on the entire subject. If no one has anything else, then we'll move on to item 11.